with me we have Sanjay. We'll give our introduction. Today, our webinar topic is basically moving beyond legacy access control and modernizing cross-application risk management, where we'll be discussing what is legacy access control, why we need the modernization, and why cross-application risk management is required, right? So before starting on the journey, we will try. I want to introduce myself and the speaker with Sanjay. So myself, Avijit Ghosal, I am working as an associate director in Protiviti. I have around 15 years of experience, exposure towards security, GRC, access control, process control, risk management, audit management. And I worked half of my career in the Big Four, so I have a very strong consulting background. I gave customers, consultation about their risk management, how they can modernize their risk and all those stuff, how they can, make it better in terms of security. I'll hand it over to Sanjay to introduce himself before we move forward.
Thank you. Thank you, Abhijit. Hi, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, from wherever you are joining. My name is Sanjay Narang. I take care of Asia Pacific and ANZ business for Pathlock, based out of Delhi NCR. I have been IT industry for more than 2 decades now, close to 24 years now. I have worked with large SIs like L&T, Wipro, HCL, and from last 10 to 12 years, I am in this GRC world and access control world. Started this business for my previous company called Security Weaver, which got merged under Pathlock in 2015. I have been selling GRC solutions to this part of the world and helping customers improve their access control journey, implement the GRC framework for their organizations.
Thank you, Sanjay. Okay, we'll move forward on the topic that we have to discuss today. So in today's webinar, we'll be discussing about where are the limitations of the legacy access control, why we are saying that, why we need a modernization in terms of access control. What are the insider threats and regulatory challenges that the legacy access control is facing on today? What are the modern risk management approach that the globally organizations are taking to move forward? What are the future trends? How Pathlock can help us in this kind of a journey, and we'll end up with interactive QA sessions. So throughout the journey, whatever questions you have, please either drop us a message, drop us a chat. Otherwise, on the QA sessions, we'll take your questions and answer all the questions. We'll be happy to answer all your questions. So before going forward for the limitations of the legacy access controls or something like that, we want to understand, or I want to discuss that if there is any limitation, what it can cause to an organization. So I have drafted a few recent time examples of last 10 years where companies faced a huge data breach and financial losses, right? Due to the limitation of the access control, due to unmanaged access control, and so on and so forth. So as you can see, a leading multinational automotive on 2023 faced a data breach where 75,000 people PII data has been leaked to the foreign media. They lost their brand reputation, also compromised with their production secrets. Multinational tech company data breach, which happened in 2022, where the stolen trade secrets as well as the intellectual property by a departing employee who allegedly, who allegedly stole all the trade secrets and sold it to their competitor. Data breach happened in 2016, where financial and research data got stolen by the departing employee, and which cost them around 15 lakh USD. Multinational health company, which has happened in 2020. Our fired employee deleted all critical shipment data, which is definitely gave them a huge loss in financials and reputations. Multinational health insurance company, data breach happened in 2015, exposed 78.8 million PII data, which finally cost them 115 million, which has been done by one of the employee credential got compromised. Similar thing happened for a retail giant where 41 million customer payment card details has been theft, which cost them 18.5 million. So these are the few examples where access control was not maintained properly, and for that the organization has to bear data breaches. Statistics says that all the companies think all their securities are okay, but finally it is not, because there are a lot of examples. We have kept a few over here. One of the multinational faced lack of effective access control, which leads to their material weakness, and that cost them 54 million to resolve the issues. Fraud happened for a multinational where for the lack of oversight, and which cost them $103 million. Whereas material weakness caused a multinational 6.7% loss in share value, whereas for the other one, for weakness in the IT system, caused them 3.5 billion market drop. So statistics also says that 20% of the organization disclose material weakness every quarter. So that's the statistics of the overall organizations that we have globally. So when we talk about all these access breaches and cyber threats, let us discuss why it is happening and why legacy access control is not able to fight that. So when you talk about legacy access control is basically nothing but an older model where security management is predominantly done by manually, or the older versions of the security measures, right? It includes traditional frameworks, heavily on the manual side of it, right? It doesn't have any proactive mechanism or any dynamic mechanism. It has certain flaws or drawbacks, I would say. The four has been mentioned out here. These are the four major drawbacks which the legacy access controls are having, which is first and foremost is the scalability limitation. Whereas the legacy system is always struggling with the scalability due to their, due to the architecture. It's a delay, it gives you a delay in the processing data and overall performances. Where the second one definitely is the adaptability. It's not much adaptable with the modern techs, right? As your so it is always very difficult up, to fight with the updated type of cyber threats which is coming into picture. We'll discuss about that later. Definitely integration issues, because statistics says that most of the organizations are having 6 to 10 application which is connected in their IT environment. So if you don't have that integration with your access control mechanism centrally, then there will be an issue. But legacy access control is failing all over it because they don't have that integration methodology for all the application in your IT landscape. In real world scenario, we are seeing that a lot of audit failures due to poor access control. And that's why the organizations are facing a lot of breaches, compromising with their sensitive data, and that basically calls for a modernization. So when we talk about need for modernization, we already discussed about the the limitations what the legacy access control is having. Apart from that, as I told you, the cyber threats are getting modernized day by day. Again, as per statistics, in last 10 years, data breaches has been grown by 400%. Legacy system always falls short as they are not proactive or adaptive or responsive as per the modernized cyber threats. So all the organization needs some proactive measure to basically fight against those newly developed cyber threats. So your access control system has to be adaptive, has to be dynamic, and has to be responsive. Second major aspect for modernization is the regulatory compliance and challenges in the legacy system, right? Because regulatory compliance is something which is getting complicated day by day. If we talk about HIPAA, if we talk about GDPR, even we talk about Indian DPDP Act, it is getting complicated day by day. And the legacy access control systems are failing to be compliant with that, whereas the newly developed compliance it's getting changed every day, and it is asking for more and more audit trails and other different measures in terms of compliance. Every time the legacy access control systems are failing to provide you all the necessary compliance related stuff, so finally making the organization non-compliant. That also calls for a modernization where your upgraded or updated or modernized access control system should be able to give you a compliant system, which will be compliant with all the updated compliances, and it can be dynamically changed as per the compliance updates. When we talk about the modernization, definitely we need to look about the future trends, how the different organization across globe is looking into the upgradation or modernization of the access control. What are the trends they are following? So when you talk about the trends, future trends, so these are the modern risk management models. It starts with zero trust model, where the principle is never trust, always verify. So the system won't be trusting anybody by default. Rather, it will verify its authenticity or authentication from wherever they might log in. But definitely, it will check for their authenticity or authentication. Adaptive access control is basically your understanding what the access the user will be requiring as per its behavior. So it will basically assign the access dynamically based on the user behavior and contextual factors. It will basically enhance your security posture for your organization. It is not monotonously or as per your legacy system. It's just give this access to this user. It should be based on their behavior or on their on based of their regular work they are performing, or anything happens out of this, it should generate an alert that this particular user is not behaving as per its natural. So that should be your adaptive access control is all about. Cross application risk management is something that is definitely required in the modern era, where all your different application will be connected and integrated to a single platform, and that particular platform should assess the cross application risk. It shouldn't be checking the only one application risk at a time. Rather, it should check the user access and its different risk across platforms. I can give you multiple example for that right now. A lot of organizations are using for peer in particular application and PO in another application, right? So to check that whether the similar user or same user is doing the both the actions in different platforms, we need this kind of cross application risk management. This is a very simple example of SOD, but yes, this can be applied for every kind of a risk management. Okay. At the same time, integrating securities across platforms. I don't know why it is not. Sorry. I don't know how. Yeah. Okay, got it. Yeah. Integrating security across platforms, which is basically a comprehensive cross management risk management strategy, which basically eliminates the silos and all the vulnerabilities, enhancing all the security posture. So these are the risk management model which is getting the trend of the future. All the organizations globally are adhering to this and getting updated or getting modernized. So if we talk about again future trends, there are certain things that again the future is looking for, and all the organization is looking for it. First one should be your adaptive authentication I was talking about. that it's not the static one, rather it's moving away from your static access control model to a dynamic and context aware systems. I was discussing about this. Nowadays, each and every organization in the globe is basically moving into the clouds. So when you are moving to the clouds, you need a IAM solution which will be capable enough to connect with all your cloud environments, right? And basically govern it centrally. So that's why IAM for cloud environment is a highly required for the future. IGA is the definite need for future where it can govern all your access control, all your process control, everything being a central entity altogether for all your application in your IT landscape. It includes your user provisioning, role management, access certification, everything. At the same time, it can work as a IAM for you so that it's a single source of truth for all your employees and all your users. Machine learning and AI is definitely something that everyone is looking for. Every organization in the market is looking for machine learning and AI and implementing it everywhere. So that is also the future trend for security and for access control as well, so that we can detect the anomalies, predict the future potential security threats. But via AI and via machine learning, we can basically proactively fight against them. That's why AI is required to predict the things and ML is required to proactively take some measures or fight against the threats. Single identity governance across all IT landscape. That's what I was talking about regarding the integration, where we need a central IAM application where we can connect all the IT, all the application in your IT landscape, which will give you a better governance in terms of centrally managed access control all over your IT, all over your IT platforms, and gives you a central management system as well. Zero trust security model, which I just have discussed, that we won't be blind trust anything or any entity within a network or a system. Rather, we'll always verify the authenticity or authentication for that particular user. Did do analysis, which is a very important thing in the future trend, where we always need to be vigilant what is happening in your system. Even if something is not going right, you need to be informed prior so that you can take actions upon. So maybe it's a detective control, but at least you can act upon very quickly. So it's a basically a response to something what happened, but you have to there should be a way to respond it very quickly. So that's why did do analysis is very much the requirement for the future. Now, when we talk about transitioning to the modern access control, how the transitioning will happen or what is the transition methodology? So in that scenario, the first thing should be we should be assessing the current system, where you will be assessing your current system. You will identify the potential vulnerabilities, area of improvement, and where you need the modernization and what is basically aligning with the modern practices and what is not. So that assessment should be the first step for you. Once the assessment is done, you have to set a clear goal that what is your objective behind the transition. What the new system, what are the new system which will be aligned, with your overall security strategy, business strategy, or business goals. And based on that, you will have to clear your vision. You have to set up a clear goal, and based on the goal, you have to plan this transition, right? So that a structured transition plan, you need to prepare where the timelines, resource allocation, stakeholder involvement, everything should be mentioned so that it will facilitate a smoother transition to the modern access control solution. We'll come to the modern tools and technologies, which is currently required for and which is the trend for the future. As I told you, like we need a IAM solution which can also provide you the IAG, so IAG features, which can centrally manage all your applications throughout your IT landscape. And that can basically provide you the modernization in terms of automate the compliance reporting, enhance auditing capabilities, support seamless integration across diverse technologies. So this IAM solution and IAG solution is the future for access governance. So when we talk about all this modernization, Pathlock basically gives you Pathlock basically gives you the platter of all those features altogether. So I'll just hand it up on to Sanjay to explain you further on the Pathlock things.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Abhijit, for setting the context. It was well elaborated with some facts and figures. And that's where Pathlock comes into picture. But before I start talking about Pathlock, start talking about our products and offerings, I just want to recap everything that you have talked about in last 20-25 minutes in couple of slides, so that we are able to relate to what Pathlock is doing. So whatever Avijit talked about, that's already summarized in this particular slide in terms of the current challenges that customers are facing when they are talking about business applications. And when we say business application, essentially, we are talking about those applications which are more critical for any organization, which have finance in nature, which have finance in contact. We have connectivity with finance applications. So those are the applications which we are categorizing as business applications, even though you might have plethora of applications in your IT landscape, right? And this slide actually clearly depicts both sides of the challenges for any organization from a ERP perspective. If we talk about access management or access risk, which is predominantly the topic for today's discussion, as well as the business process risk, which is also equally important for any organization, and the balance between these two, which organizations have to maintain, right? So from an access perspective, you talk about segregation of duty, you talk about user access management, you talk about periodic user access reviews. These are the standard terminology which people use, and the common challenges or scenarios which we saw in the market or experience with our prospects and customers. On a business side, the process challenges are there, the transactional challenges are there, the policy enforcement challenges are there. So that actually equally weight provide the weightage whenever we actually evaluate the challenges for the organization. Now, there was a very clear study which was done in the market when Avijit was talking about the access control modernization. We all know that every organization talks about digital transformation today, right? This could be because of the business expansion. This could be because of the merger and acquisitions happening. This could be even the demerger scenario also, because once you demerge, you get into a smaller entities. You have to transform to run your business, right? So these were the studies which were done in the market. But even after those studies were done, the demerger activities are happening. The IT landscape from the business application perspective is growing day by day. So you can see the middle stats, which clearly says that 30% of ERP customers were having around 11 to 20 plus connected application. Doesn't matter what sort of business category you fall into, whether you are a large enterprise or a mid-segment SMB customer or a commercial customer, right? You have multiple applications to take care of it. And because of this growing nature of business application, the business risk, or you can say the access control risk, is also multiplying for the organization. So that's where there is a sheer need where you have to transform your access control program or access governance program for the business risk to be under control. And that's where exactly Pathlock comes into picture. Now, Pathlock categorizes itself into IAG or AAG scenario. So you remember Avijit talked about IDM and IGA scenario, right? So IDM, as we all know, is for identity management, and IGA is all about governance and administration. What the requirement is to merge both of these. And that's where the IAG, the identity and access governance or application access governance kind of a scenario comes into picture. And Pathlock clearly categorizes in that particular category. And we actually call ourselves as a converged IGA because we bring that identity platform as well along with our solution. Now, the reason why we exist in the market is clearly depicted on the right hand side, where if you are doing your access control manually, there is always a chance of oversight which is possible. Because of the oversight, there will be material weaknesses which will be there, and you have to prepare and invest a lot of time for your audits, right? So that increases the overall audit cost, that decreases your risk posture because you are not able to digest those risks which are unforeseen. So you need a solution which can automate your internal access control, which can help you reduce the risk, improve your risk posture, as well as reduce the cost from an audit perspective. So that's a very basic requirement from a day-to-day access control perspective. But like Abhijit was talking about the modernization aspect, and the thing that I talked about in the last slide, where multiple applications comes into picture to support your business. So you will agree, gone are the days when we used to run our business on one ERP and one database, right? It's not possible today. You will have to run your business across multiple applications. And imagine if your users, your employees are having access to multiple business application, your risk is getting equally distributed. So you need a single platform which can connect to these multiple business applications and give you a single glass of pane to monitor your enterprise wide risk. You can't really have multiple risk monitoring solutions for multiple business application, right? It will increase the cost for sure, and the person who is responsible for doing this activity will go mad. So you need a single platform which can take care of this problem statement for you. And Pathlock does that, and which is already proven in the industry, because of which you have to monitor multiple applications. When I say multiple applications, it can be your on-prem applications, it can be your ERPs, it can be your cloud applications, which Avijit was talking about. It can be your legacy applications. We know there are so many customers who have been using legacy, homegrown, or maybe third-party developed applications to run their businesses, right? And at the same time, you need to monitor all the users, what they are doing across these applications, right? So what access they have, whether they are conflicting in nature, what kind of access management you have implemented. So all those users needs to be monitored in terms of what they can do in the system. And there is a very important aspect that Vijit brought in one of the previous slide, which was the did do analysis in terms of the actual execution, what people are doing. So that requires monitoring of all the activities which people are conducting in these particular business applications we are talking about. And if we can control all these three blocks, you can control all the risk from a business perspective, from an access control perspective, and then you can comply to any compliance framework, right? So that's what is a clear need which was there in the market, and that's what Pathlock solves, which is already proven and benchmarked by the industry leaders. So these are few of the reports which were published by Cole, and we are very fortunate to be named as a leader in two of the prestigious reports of Cole. If you bring your focus to the right side, which clearly talks about the access control for multi-vendor scenario, which is nothing but the multi-business application scenario, where Pathlog is definitely the way ahead and a clear leader in this particular space. And the only reason why we were able to achieve such a feast was because of this out of the box connector library that Pathlog supports as of today with our platform. So if you can bring your focus towards left hand side, the first box, you name the any of the existing business course application, whether from the Oracle family or SAP family, Microsoft family, or the peripheral application which are commonly used like Ariba, SuccessFactors, ServiceNow. We integrate with all these applications. You talk about any of the identity sources which are predominantly implemented across companies, whether it's Active Directory or the new Microsoft Entra ID or Office 365, we can integrate with that. You name about any of the ticketing solutions or the ITSM and SIM solutions like Zendesk, Zira, ServiceNow, we can integrate with that. And even after that, like I was talking about earlier, if you have any homegrown legacy third party developed application and you want that application to be part of your IAG or AAG access control program, yes, we can develop a connector or an interface for that application as well, right? So that is what is actually giving us a edge, and that's what makes Pathlock what Pathlock is today. So this is a quick glimpse of the complete Pathlock product portfolio. We have around 10 to 13 different products that we offer for different requirements, different ask from our customers' perspective, but just to align to different jargons that people are using in this market, we have distributed our products in three different buckets. So the first bucket that you see here is called Application Access Governance, in short AAG, which is what is a traditional GRC, which you might be already familiar with if you are aware about the RBAC concept of role-based access control. That's what you can achieve here, right? So it comprises of components like access risk analysis, which is for your cross application segregation of duty risk framework. Compliant provisioning is a typical user access management process or the automation of JML workflows, joiner, mover, lever workflows, which any organization will follow, with preventative risk analysis, which is one of the audit best practice. Certifications are nothing but the periodic user access review, which is a common ask under ITGC or SOX. And elevated access management is nothing but a privilege access management for a bare minimum period of time for any of your business application, right? So those are the components that you get in the AAG category. The next category is CCM, continuous control monitoring or slash process compliance. As Abhijit was talking about zero trust and zero risk scenario, whenever we follow these practices, you have to give the access to your users and then keep on monitoring. That's what is zero risk or zero trust all about. So that's what this layer actually helps you implement, where you can monitor your users' transaction history, transaction activity, and also perform the risk quantification, which is nothing but a did do scenario, what they are doing. And in case there are any fraudulent activity or in case there are any anomalies which are there, you can actually quickly catch that rather than waiting for a later period your auditors are coming and then they are highlighting or investigating. And by that time, there is a huge monetary loss which our organization has already gone into. And last but not the least, which is cybersecurity application control, in short, CAC. A very, very interesting topic in nowadays because everybody talks about cybersecurity, but the limitation of those discussions are because they are only focused on network and infrastructure layer. But if you have noticed in last 30-35 minutes, we are only talking about application level security, right? So this particular layer is specifically is focused on application level cybersecurity, where we have components like vulnerability assessment management, real-time threat detection response, dynamic access control, which brings the adaptive access control topic, which Avijit mentioned in one of the modernizations thing, right? Where you can dynamically mask the data to safeguard PII, right? Whether you follow SOX, JSOX, or the new DPDP Act for India market, or GDPR for that matter, which is a very prominent compliance framework in the market. You can achieve those techniques, those scenarios by dynamic access control, because we bring the concept of ABAC, which is more of a attribute-based access control, which is more adaptive, more dynamic than RBAC, right? And then code scanning and transport control. Now, the beauty of this entire product portfolio is it's a la carte. So we are not enforcing anybody to buy the complete package. You are free to choose. You are allowed to pick and choose this particular range of product based on your problem statement that you have right now, and that gives you a flexibility and the agile methodology implementation, which is a very effective way of adopting a new technology, right? And that gives you a gradual improvement in your compliance framework posture also, right? So that's what Pathlog offers to the customers. And in nutshell, the typical risk that we have summarized in last few slides in terms of segregation of duty, provisioning, user access management, periodic user access review, audit reporting, all that you can achieve by one single platform called Pathlog. And just a reminder that it is available for cross application. So you don't have to just worry about one application. Whatever business application you want to bring on the table, on the board, we can actually connect that particular application with Pathlock platform. All right, so I think with that, I am on the last slide. Back to you, Avijit.
Thanks, Sanjay. There is a quick video. Let me see if I can. Sanjay, I think still it is in your control.
Just escape will do.
Yeah, let me just quickly run a small video. So with this, we are at the last slide, and we will be opening the platform for Q&A session. So anybody having any questions, we'll be happy to answer. Me or Sanjay can take it up and give you the answer for your question.
You are able to manage the multiple rule sets.
Okay. So to answer that, for every application, just an example, let's suppose you are having SAP, you have Ariba, and let's suppose you have Workday. I'm just giving a SAP platform altogether. Maybe you have PeopleSoft, just for an example. So for all three applications, right? For all three application, you can have a different rule book or rule set. For SAP, it will be a different rule set. For Ariba, it will be a different rule set. For PeopleSoft, it will be a different rule set altogether. But when we talk about cross application risk management, we will create a cross application rule book. So where I mean, the tool will basically find out whatever the access you have, as it is a central application I was talking about, right? The central application will be connected over different application will be connected to the different application. In that case, the tool will understand whatever access you are having in Ariba, whatever access you are having in SAP, right? In your ERP system. And the cross application rulebook will help you facilitate the risk, including Ariba and ERP. Let's suppose you in Ariba you have access to create a PR, and in ERP you have access to create a PO for that. So the cross application rules, it will help you to identify that risk, and the tool will basically give you the complete dashboard out of it, that this particular user is having access, this access in this particular application, and this access in other application, which is causing this risk. That's how we normally manage this.
Okay, there's a follow-up thing on the same. We already have a rule set. Can we use that?
Yeah, I mean, if you have a rule set which is well defined by your organization, you definitely can use that for one application. But if you're talking about multiple application or cross application, again, if this rule set is covering all your risks, well and good. Otherwise, what we can help you in, to be very honest, that we can review it, we can check whether it is basically robust or covering all the security aspects or the risk aspects of it, and can basically guide you on that. If that is covering everything, then you can use the same for the tool, and use the tool. It's doesn't matter whether you have your own rule book, or you are basically purchasing it outside, or it is getting created by anybody in that matter. You can use that particular rule book in that tool. The tool is flexible.
Okay. The next question is you talked about did do analysis, how that functionality will work.
Okay. So Sanjay, you want to take it up or?
Okay, I can definitely take it up. So as we understand, the did do analysis part is more to do with the user activity, what they are doing in a particular application. So let's take example of SAP, right? So whenever we are executing a particular transaction, there are logs which are getting generated in SAP. So the day our solution is live, let's say Pathlock Access Governance is integrated with your SAP environment, whether it's ECC or S4HANA, we will be picking these logs, which are user activity log, basically your STAD and SM20. These logs will be picked almost on a daily basis, or you can set the frequency when exactly they should be picked. And based on that, we will be having accumulation of this user history. Now, because we have this repository available in a tool and we have the user history available, we can merge and we can show you who all our users are actually exercising the particular risk, right? Because we understand the definition, we understand the T codes behind these definition, and based on that, the mapping will be done. So it gives you another level of risk analysis where the risk is actually getting exercised, right? Which is more critical for any organization to monitor rather than doing a can do analysis where people are having the risk, but they are not executing anything. So that's how the did do part will be done. It depends on really application to application. If application supports the user history and it can be exposed, we can pick it up via APIs or whatever mechanism we are integrating with that application, we can perform the did do analysis.
So just to give you a difference between can do and did do, basically the risk analysis report is showing whatever you get, or the risk analysis report basically shows you can do analysis that the user is having this and this access. So he can do both of this. Example, he can create a PO and process the payment. And did do analysis basically shows you whether the user has actually created any PO and basically processed that payment for that PO kind of stuff. So that's the basic difference.
Right. Okay, the next question is whether we can connect to applications like success factors.
Yes, I mean, as Sanjay clearly mentioned, there Pathlock is able to connect to any software, any known software in that matter, whether it is from SAP family, whether it is from Oracle family, whether it is from Microsoft family. Pathlock is having that connector inbuilt. So yes, we can connect.
Perfect. The next question is whether the application can help us reduce the false positives.
Yes, again, so false positives is something that which comes from a faulty rule set, right? So example, if you maintain display access, I mean zero to be in terms of SAP, it's a 03 activity. For other applications, so display activity, whatever. I mean for display activity, if it is maintained in your rule book, right, it will always give you a false positive. Example,
Yep.
you have access to, you are checking whether the user is having access to PO and at the same time processing payment, or create vendor or processing payment. But at the same, in your rule book, it is maintained that 03 or view activity, display activity in terms of vendor. So basically the user is having access to display vendor, not to change the vendor. In that case, it is not a risk. It's basically a false positive. So it's basically comes due to your faulty rule book. So we need to you need to work on your rule book and make it correct, so that false positive won't come. Because rule set is something which is basically heart of any GRC tool in that matter, right? Based on the rule set, whatever rule set you give, the tool will analyze the system. So if your brain is I mean, the brain of or heart of the GRC tool is faulty, then it will definitely give you some false positive. Then you have to work on your rule book.
Yep, thanks. And just to add, actually, this boils down to the concept of fine-grained risk analysis, because if your rule set is not fine-grained, let's take another example for SAP itself. if your rule set is only about user level and role level SOD analysis, definitely you are going to get a lot of false positives, right? Instead, if your rule set is maintained till the last mile in SAP, which means role, T code, authorization object, and the values which Avijit is talking about, and if you use that rule set and run the risk analysis, you will have the most accurate SOD conflict report for your landscape, which will be almost zero false positive in that particular report. Okay. In the interest of time, we'll just pick a couple of more. One more I can see is we are using ServiceNow for user access management. Whether I still need Pathlock solution along.
So are you using ServiceNow GRC or you are using ServiceNow as a ticketing tool?
Ticketing tool.
Okay. So if it is a ticketing tool, then all the provisioning is happening. How the provisioning is happening? Is it automated via ServiceNow or you are doing it manually after all the approval is happening in the ticket?
I think it will take some time for the gentleman to type, but let me pick this up because there are a couple of scenarios we have implemented ServiceNow. I hope that will answer. In case not, definitely you can reach out in an offline method and we can discuss more. So, like Avijit mentioned, ServiceNow can be used for both the scenarios. If it's only a ticketing system or a ITSM SIM solution, the request can be raised by your end users in the ServiceNow application, and then ServiceNow can have an integration with Pathlock in the background, right? So based on this ticket, we can read an event, we can create a workflow, and the Pathlock workflow will continue. It will send all the reminders, emails, approvals, and take the action in your respective business application. The response will be sent back to the ServiceNow so that the ticket is updated and the user is notified, right? The second scenario where ServiceNow can act as a workflow application, user can request for access or a new ID creation or a new role or new access. It can kickstart a workflow where people can approve it. And then during the approval process, there can be an integration with Pathlock for doing a preventative risk analysis, right? So that's another scenario where there is an integration possible with ServiceNow, and we have done both kind of implementations for multiple customers. To answer your question, yes, we can coexist with ServiceNow. We have integration available with ServiceNow. All right, so there is a last one which I will pick in the interest of time. How are you working for user access reviews?
Okay. So user access review, as you know, it's a compliance thing that you have to perform every in every period. For someone it is quarterly, someone is half yearly, someone is yearly for some organization. So how you are doing it right now, if you have to do it manually, basically you are basically jotting down every details in an Excel and send it out to your business heads or reporting managers for their approvals, and they are basically seeing few line items, column A for users, column B for the set of access or responsibilities or roles, however you call it, and based on that, based on the only the definition of the responsibility or the role, they are basically approving it without checking any other things. So basically there are few points that you need to check whether, I mean, the points that normally comes into mind that whenever I am checking whether some access for a user, whether it is correct or not, I need to check whether the first thing is whether the user is basically using it or not. I mean, I'm assigning some access to a user and maybe the user is not even using it for last 6 months, right? So in that case, that access is basically not required by the user. We are putting some excess access to the user, which can be of some kind of a risk in future because we are giving excess access to a user. Whether it is having any kind of a risk or SOD risk, we are not checking that with through Excel. We cannot we can't able to understand whether there is any risk. What are the different types of access that is there within that responsibility or role? We are unable to find that by Excel, I mean, with the just name of the responsibility or the role. What kind of action I have taken last year or last period when I have done the similar review? I don't have that data within that Excel, right? So all these things are not there. I'm just taking some, I'm taking some action just in sake of audit. So the tool will help you in here. All this data I was talking about. So it will be an automated trigger. Every whatever your period is, half yearly or quarterly, it will trigger automatically. And whoever is your proper stakeholder is, whether it is reporting manager or the department head, they will basically receive an email. They can get into the system, and what they can see is whatever the report is, they have listed down. And once they click on the report, they can see all the responsibilities or the roles is listed. And with that, there are other attributes, whether they have used that, whether there is any SOD, whatever the action they have taken in the last access review, whenever they last time when they approved it, last time when they used it, all those data, and what are the different access, what is there in that particular roles or user, all those data will be there. So based on all these attributes, the approver basically can make a decision whether this particular access is required by the user or not. So based on that, they can basically take up that action. Now, if they approve, so for quick thing, the tool will give you option to, check all and approve, check all and reject kind of a stuff. But once you approve, it's all good. But if you reject, then now what you are doing is basically when someone is rejecting something, you are getting into the system and basically removing it, and it is taking some time. When the time when they basically rejecting it, it goes to IT is removing it, so it is a gap of certain days. But here by the tool, what will be done is once you reject and submit the request, the tool will automatically remove that particular role or responsibility from the user that moment automatically. So that's the complete process of UAR by the tool. Sanjay, if you want to add anything, please add.
No, I think you pretty much summarized it. Just one line, it's actually making your UAR process more foolproof. So rather than doing any manual activity, it's all done by the tool automatically. You can schedule the jobs, you can schedule the cycles when you want to run this particular UAR. It will automatically invoke, it will automatically send notifications to the actors. They will have all the information that Avijit talked about to take an informed decision whether to approve it or reject it. And it's all recorded in the system so that you don't have to create any manual audit trail. So that makes the life easy for the actors, that makes the life easy for the people who are preparing for the audit, and you have all the answers available in the system itself, right? So that's how the UAR process will work. All right, so I think in the interest of time, we'll skip rest of the question right now. We will reach out to you individually and we'll try to address your questions then.
So thank you everyone for your time, for joining this particular webinar. Any question that you have, for the interest of time, we are closing it right now, but we are available. Our email ID and everything is there on the webinar. That invite that has been sent to you. Please reach out to us for anything and everything. We'll definitely try to get back to you and support you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice evening.
Bye bye.